Hey guys, Tyler2K here. Today we're going to do a more in-depth breakdown of the Hwoarang trailer that came out 2 days ago. If you haven't seen my original quick breakdown, which is like under 3 minutes, and you're kind of stuck on time there, top right corner to check out the quick breakdown. Otherwise, like usual, this game is unreleased. Everything shown can and might change by final release date, so please keep that in mind. Second of all, I like doing these more in-depth breakdowns because this allows us to cover things where, I didn't have time to mention that, or maybe possibly slipped my mind, so on and so forth. But yeah, I try my best to make sure that the quick breakdowns are, exactly that, condensed right to the information, no speculation whatsoever. So this allows me to go more in depth with that. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so we see the standard down 3-4 series. As mentioned, it looks to be, this is the same animation as we see later with the Rage, I don't want to call it Rage Dry, but the Heat Burst, not Heat Burst, Heat Smash. Man, there's so many terms. Yeah, this is the same animation. So we have the, I believe, RFS down 4, which currently in the current game, so RFS, right Flamingo stance, so his right leg's up. Yeah, RFS down 4-3 is basically his Hellsweep attack. It looks like they've changed the properties, so either the Hellsweep isn't guaranteed, or possibly, counter hit only sort of thing. Like this kind of sweep and how Nina's kind of getting knocked down to the ground looks very similar to like we'll see later his sidestep 4. But it's very possible that either down 4-3 is gone, so no more Hellsweep out of stance. Either, second of all, it's not guaranteed, as talked about here, or 3, in order to do the extension, you possibly actually require to be in stance, or sorry, to have heat mode activate. That way you can do the heat smash. So here you spin animation, and now he's into RFF, so right foot forward. His normal stance is LFF, or left foot forward. So this is basically him in southpaw. Hwoarang has 4 stances: LFF, which is normal stance, left foot forward. This stance, right foot forward. RFF. Then LFS, so left Flamingo stance and right Flamingo stance. So from RFF, he does 3 slide 4, aka Backlash. So yeah, obviously armors through the attack. Nina's wall stand 4 gets eaten. He completes the string, and obviously it's more than, oh hey, Nina no longer gets launched. But I think people still are discounting how good still this Backlash is going to be. So presumably all the frame data is the same. We have the homing attack, the power crush, the knockdown, the armor through. If you see how like distant she is, she's getting pushed to about range 3. So yeah, if you're by the wall, this will still get you a launching property. Now at this range, at tip range, at like range 3.5-ish, it probably won't grant you a full combo. But there are this like upside down knockdown states or wall splat states where there's no real, well, first of all, there's no real instruction in the game, period, right? But yeah, it might grant that upside down state, in which case Hwoarang still gets a combo, but doesn't get like the best combo possible. But I would say like 2.5 the 3-ish, like this splat state, the splat distance. Yeah, he'll probably still get it. We talked about before how in certain knockdown states you could potentially do a rage drive, or sorry, the, god dang it, heat burst, aka the bound. But yeah, Nina's just way too far away, allowing Hwoarang to get to 4-4-3. So that realistically, unless you get a clean wall splat, will be it of his potential damage. I realistically can't see anything here, because if you notice, by the time Hwoarang actually hits her on the ground, she's basically not recovered, but she's recovered. This is her recovered. So yeah, this 4-4-3 isn't going to be difficult, but I think it's going to be pretty strict on timing. Like, for instance, I don't think you can do like a JFSR or something and hit him in this weird in-between ground stance and airborne stance. So, oh, okay, yeah. So this is an interesting move, because currently, as it stands, this is a move that neither Hwoarang nor Baek actually has. So RFF, so right foot forward, he does what it looks to be almost like an up forward 3, like the start of Hunting Hawk, but instead he does like a straight kick, and obviously the homing property on it, he's plus frames. He does chip as signified by the red flames. But it's weird. There's no analog in any of the games for this move, and the fact that it kind of starts looking like a hunting hawk is very strange, in my opinion. Okay, so then we see the RFF 2-3. RFF 2-3 exists, but it doesn't do like this jumping straight kick. It does a high string. So that, because this looks like very ultimate of part of the string, so aka this is the end of the string when he performs RFF 2-3. I think the extensions off RFF 2-3 are completely gone. So they're making the character simpler-ish, but at the same time, not really a bad thing. I'm not really one to say I'm not a Hwoarang player, but I mean, the fewer strings that Hwoarang has to deal with, the better. So now, rather than, same thing. It's still a high in Tekken 7 in tag, but it's like, okay, now it's like very explicit. I need to duck. If I don't duck, then I'm screwing up. So Nina tries to get in. Hwoarang does the punch parry. Typically in the current game, the best he can do is 4-3. So now that he has like a 3+4, follow-up is a big deal. Because as you see here, yeah, it's a wall splat. So no longer would be plus frames, the 4-3 into stance makes up. Now it's a clean wall splat, which is a sizable buff, especially when you look at how far Nina got knocked away from Hwoarang here. So that is a big buff. Also from the 3+4 animation. So obviously we don't know the exact input, but yeah, that looks very high. So if he can perform this input out of standing, like for instance, he doesn't need to go into like a punch parry stance to do it, this is something to look out for. I imagine that's not going to Joe. Okay, side step 4, everyone's favorite. Hwoarang has quite a few like really noteworthy lows. I wouldn't say he has the best lows in the game, but I would say probably is up there with how many low options he has that are actually really good. Side step 4 being a counter launcher is a big deal. Down back 4 as it is does way too much damage in my opinion, especially when he has a 50-50 afterwards. But yeah, you see that here. Okay, so yeah, so side step 4 into LFF, or no, I guess he's in RFF. So now yeah, so he currently has a down back 3-4, which is the generic looking low high kick. So I think they because of how antiquated RFF down back 3-4 is, I'm like, okay, they probably got rid of it here. So I think this is safe to say. Also, one thing of note here. Okay, so Hwoarang creates a spark. Okay, so okay, that's gonna be hard to see. Let me do frame by frame. So yeah, you see this. There's light being drawn on him, and it looks really annoying. Now, I don't know if it is the blue spark that's causing animation, or as you see here, whenever the opponents hit the ground, it causes electricity. So I don't know if this is the electricity getting emitted onto him, but it looks bad. I don't know. This is just my opinion, but it's active for like a couple frames. And there you go, like why he's getting light cast on him. Is that from this spark down here? I don't understand. I think this is bugged out. It'll probably be tweaked, but I don't remember seeing this in the other videos. So maybe they're playing with the lighting, but personally, I hate it. It looks bad. Okay, so now we see, interestingly enough, okay, so let's presume this is RFF down back 3-4, right? So here's the interesting part. So in this condition, is this in a stance? Like, is he transitioning into RFS for like half a frame before doing the high follow-up? Otherwise, like if you think of like the practicality of this move, right? He's going to do RFF down back 3-4-4-4, but they're all highs. So it would explain if he's in RFS here, and this is now an RFS extension with the jumping 4 into basically like a legend kick, so a triple high in a row. Practicality makes no sense, but I can see them having cleaned up this animation and being like, okay, so down back 3-4 RFS, and the animations are just really crispy, and there's no lag time on this entrance. So then he does the extension. I don't know, this is probably like the biggest thing I couldn't understand, and I didn't want to mention it because yeah, like this conversation right now is gonna be like what, like 3 minutes alone, just trying to figure out what this is. Okay, here's another interesting thing. This is a Baek thing. So Baek does this sort of, this almost kind of looks like his disrespect stance. But yeah, this is a very much a Baek thing. I'm not going to be like, oh, insert video here, because I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. But yeah, Baek does this weird arm thing on certain attacks. I believe on his 2 throw he does this as well. But the animation gets eaten up. So it's interesting to see that the upper skeleton and the lower skeleton seem to be on different, and I don't want to call them keyframes. That's not very accurate. But the attacks themselves are on different. Rigging's not the right word either. I don't know. I'm not really a 3D animator, so I can't give you the exact terminology. But basically, the animations are independent. So you notice how he's still holding his hands up before he initiates the Hunting Hawk Ender here. So it's like they Namco has separated the two animations, which is good, to have an independent upside and an independent downside. That way your opponent, your animations aren't like super rigid where you're jumping from like some instant keyframe. Like Dragunov is a good example. Dragunov has this thing where his hands, he does like this gripping animation. So his fingers will be straight, and then he'll just randomly grip. Like, what the hell? Like, what is that? So there's like no splining on the animations at all for Dragunov. But at least here, it looks like Hwoarang has it, which maybe is a good sign for the other fighters. Okay, here's an interesting one. Yeah, someone posted this on Twitter actually. They're like, Namco said, we're starting from the ground up. Everything's gonna be brand new. Yeah, this is the exact Tekken 2 or Tekken 3 animation. Like, this is straight up the same animation. So clearly not everything they said is from the ground up, because otherwise this wouldn't exist. So I wasn't going to call it out during the video. But yeah, I mean, there clearly has been some bleed over. Okay, Hunting Hawk, nothing really to note. Causing a spike, I imagine, I don't know, maybe Nina cannot escape out of this roll state. But presuming this is like the old rules, yeah, Nina can probably roll out of this. It's hard to say, unfortunately. Okay, so we see the 4-3 RFS transition into 3+4. This causes the hazard zone attack. So that doesn't basically count as your wall splat, which means Hwoarang can do a full wall combo here. So very deliberate. You don't have to do it like this deliberate of an animation, right? Yeah, you can do like instant wall stand too. Like they for sure were like, okay, everyone's gonna see this. Let's go ahead and just give it to them. So yeah, Hwoarang does wall stand 2-3, which then leads to the stance. Also, this looks like up back 3-3, I think it is. So yeah, it's probably a high. So in case you don't know, dang it, I guess I'll do some bleed over. Okay, insert footage here of Baek. So yeah, one of the moves that Baek originally had that Hwoarang never had was down forward 1-3. So with Baek, down forward 1-3 was a mid-high attack. When the move came over to Hwoarang, Namco made it such that down forward 1-3 was a mid-mid, which is really annoying because then if you try to punish him when he's in stance, he can then do the power crush to interrupt you, right? Versus Baek, yeah, you ducked it and launched it. Now with Baek wall stand 2-1, it is a the mid bind option. So obviously this makes it so Hwoarang probably has a wall stand launcher now proper. But at the same time, if it's at least a high, then it's like, okay, well then there's some counterplay possible. Now granted, he does transition into LFS, but yeah, I would assume at the bare minimum you can like wall stand for it without having to worry about incoming power crush. But yeah, two things. Obviously, it's a spin option from all like the spin here. It looked to be a high from the hit spark. Animation wise, it's an in-betweener of like wall stand 2-1 with Baek and his down forward 1-3. Same thing, up back 3-3 animation. And then we talk about it. Yeah, he does the down forward 3 cancel back into LFS. And then does, I don't know if this was an LFS 3-2 or an LFS down forward 3-2. To be honest, I think it was a 3-2. But it is strange because if you look at like the frame data of the two attacks, so LFS down forward 3-3 is the straight kick ender, so minus 14. If this would be LFS down forward 3-4, then it would also be minus 14 on the final hit. So now that he has a mid into like an overhead chop, it's like, man, down 2 I'm pretty sure with Baek is safe. So are they giving Hwoarang like a safe like string follow-up or what? It's kind of strange. So I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. Because yeah, either case, if it's LFS down 4-3 or LFS 3, to get a safe mid follow up leaves a little bit of bad taste in my mouth. I'll be fully honest about that. I'm not super happy, but we'll see. Okay, we have this interaction. They have the double kick. So before rounds start, if your characters know each other, you'll have like a special intro rather than just simply walk up to each other. They'll usually say something. So clearly, this is going to be the Hwoarang versus Jin interaction. Okay, so we see the back four counter at launch. 2-3 RFF, as mentioned, spin option. Again, there's that same animation similar to the wall stand 2-3. This time, RFF 2-3 doesn't transition to stance, though. Okay, so he pops the heat burst. This is, animation-wise, this is identical to his down back 3+4 animation. His the unblockable, so which makes me wonder if down back 3+4 is gone, if maybe all he has left is the Flamingo forward 4 unblockable. I don't know, to be honest, but it is weird that they completely copied the animation, so that's why I'm thinking maybe down back 3+4 is gone, but I don't know, to be frank. But yeah, it does appear to be the standard I-15 with the last 2 frames hitting before the actual attack hits. Okay, forward 2. And this is something I wanted to mention, but I don't know if I don't believe I had time. So he performs, so he's an RFF, and then he does down forward 3+4 throw. So I talked about how this is like a new attack throw, and clearly this is an attack throw from like fucking T3, right? This is super old, nothing new here. But what I meant to really say is in the current state, you have to perform the attack throw out of LFF, so out of the stance. Forward 2 leaves them into RFF, and if you hit down forward 3+4, the game will give you down forward 3 because RFF does not have a down forward 3+4 input. Yeah, you would get the RFF down forward 3, which is like the really big daddy mid kick, homing kick, right? But now that it looks like RFF has an explicit down forward 3+4 input, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to OS to down forward 3. That's also not to state or to say that RFF down forward 3 is gone. It almost certainly will still be there, but now he has an additional input out of RFF, e.g. down forward 3+4, giving us the airborne attack throw. So the input's not new, the animation's not new, it's just the fact that he couldn't do it previously is the big deal. Okay, so yeah, we see the, what is that, RFS back 3, I think it is? Like I said, I'm not really okay, so yeah, he's an RFS, back 3. Yeah, this is... It is a sizable nerf because RFS back 3, as it stands, currently is a -10 launcher. A lot of characters don't really have great 10s either, so in the case of like Jack, you have to do an explicit punish. Gonryu has to do an explicit punish. But yeah, there are quite a few characters like Dragunov who just does not have a good 10. Even Asuka, it doesn't have a great 10, even though she has at least one now with 1-3. But yeah, it is a big nerf, but at the same time, transitioning into Flamingo, into Heat Engager here, maybe not the worst. So it's kind of like indirect nerf, but at the same time, if it allows Hwoarang to go for his new Heat Smash shenanigans, for instance, we see this down forward 3-4 Heat Smash, like 3+4 presumably. Yeah, that is a big deal because down forward 3-4 or 3+4, all standing hits, 3 hit standing hits, it's gonna do a ton of damage. And clearly here, we get the wall break animation. So Hwoarang dashes up. So yeah, this is just conjecture, mostly for me not being a Hwoarang player. But I don't think Hwoarang really has a great standing LFF. So like he's in normal stance, left foot forward, spin option. So I think typically in order to gain spin, you have to essentially go into a stance or drop out of LFF specifically. Now, granted, he might have something that I'm not thinking of, but I think you usually have to go into stance. So the fact that he can just do run up down 4-4 is actually pretty big. Also, second of all, notice the hit spark here. So if Hwoarang down 4-4, similar to like Dragunov down 4-4 in combos, Yeah, this will still do pretty good damage. So to now have a super easy LFF spin, like 2-hitter, is like a really, really big deal. No need of like going with crazy attacks. Also, top right corner, talking about maximizing T8 wall damage. Yeah, they have like a 2-hit spin where it's going to like push them really high onto the wall for, back 4 follow up into like 3-4-4 or something like that. Is probably going to do really good damage. So yeah, to have like a really high spin like this is really good in like every single way, like really, really good. So yeah, I think Hwoarang overall, no surprise. I mean, Hwoarang already is like a damage monster, but like giving him our LFF down 4/4 for a 2-hit spin, yeah, is really, 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 it's a really nice buff. That's a significantly big buff. Okay, and then we see just the standard down 4/3/4 ender. They don't show us the knockaway. I don't think it's going to cause the slide away animation, but it will still give you probably good pushback like it does in 7. Okay, this is probably the most questionable of what contextually is actually going on here. So clearly forward 1+2 no longer is a counter launcher, right? Instead, it looks to be plus frame. So if you look at the animation wise here, yeah, so Jin has not recovered yet by the time like the forward 3 hits here. So he's still standing up. That's not to say that this isn't just like a guard frame where Jin can guard low or guard mid and he just guesses wrong, right? But yeah, this is pretty quick. I didn't do the actual frame data. Oh, damn, look at how fast it is. So, okay, so he's starting the animation here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 12. That's hella good. So if he actually has a 12 frame mid, I mean, man, that's really good. And as mentioned, I don't believe Baek has anything similar to this. Hwoarang. This is very much similar to like Baek forward 3/3, which leads me to believe maybe there is still more Baek bleed over moves that we just haven't seen yet. Of course, Baek 3/3 or 4/3/3 is a high-low, which is kind of the inverse of Hwoarang's 1/1/3/3, which is a low-high, but with a reverse animation. So it is something interesting. And then we see basically the what is that, LFF or no RFF forward 4/3 animation, but now it's occurring with his left leg. So this is all part of string, obviously being a heat engager, which makes me wonder. I don't know. There's a lot to wonder because if he has a 12 frame mid into heat engager, unless this overhead is like really negative on block, that seems really good. Yeah, so there's like a lot of questions here for sure. Like exactly what does it mean? Okay, so again, we talked about this up 4 into forward 4. Hwoarang reads that Baek's not going to clip, or sorry, Jin's not going to clip, and then does his low. He does the low sweep, heat smash version, which is now like not a full launcher, but a full like what's the word I'm looking for? Like Hellsweep combo. And then yeah, a lot of sparks, so the move probably does a ton of damage. So that's big. Okay, so Peacemaker, Peacekeeper, cancel is big. Standard 3/3/4 line. And then we see hop kick, which makes me wonder. I don't assume that RFS up 4/4, aka RFS hop kick, is going to be an instant spin. But like the fact that this causes spin makes me wonder if it's going to be an instant spin. So for instance, you're Jin here. You're trying to defend against Hwoarang. You read him going for like, I don't know, RFS 1 or RFS 2 or something like that. And then you duck. So instead, Hwoarang goes for RFS up 4/4. Does this spin property mean that his hop kick is now a spin instant, which then reduces damage potential, forces Hwoarang to pop heat burst and whatnot? I don't know. There's a lot of implications as well with this hop kick here specifically. Okay, Hunting Hawk now can transition into RFS, which is a big deal. It's a big deal because as it stands, up forward 3/4, I don't think can finish the string. I don't think so. I think if they block it, I don't think you can follow up the final hit or do the Rage Drive version. Also, one thing of note, when it comes to to power crushes, when you do a string attack through a Power Crush, if the first hit of the string has to hit for the second hit to work, technically if you do up forward 3-4 against the Power Crush, you wouldn't do the whole attack anyway. So I don't know, it's not a bad thing. Overall, if up forward 3-4 on block doesn't do the final hit regardless, that means, yeah, this RFS stance is pretty useless, but at the same time, there's going to be a little bit of learning curve to challenge instantly after RFS now. After Hunting Hawk on block. So, I don't know. I don't hate it. I think just the fact that Hwoarang can kind of do a specialty follow-up now is kind of cool. I mean, the more options, the better when it comes to just things that look like they should occur in real life. I think Hunting Hawk into RFS is one of those. I always didn't like those Hunting Hawk strings where they just stop. It's like, oh, it's kind of like, that kind of feels stupid, doesn't it? He's doing this jumping kick and you're not doing anything after? Okay, sure. Okay, as usual, the final hit shown is a counter hit. I've had people talk about how, the counter hit property there means that the attack has to be counter hit now. I don't think anyone in their right mind thinks that back 3 requires a counter hit to be a launcher now, so I still don't subscribe to that theory. I think it's a terrible theory. But yeah, the big news here is that Hwoarang does not need to be into Flamingo stance to do the Rage Art. So now he can just mash out the Rage Art. This also has a kind of interesting implication where Hwoarang cannot do Flamingo traps into Rage Art anymore. There are a couple of, like, I don't really want to call them gambits either because technically they're safe on block. But yeah, you can't do any more of those Flamingo gambits because presumably he cannot perform Rage Art out of stance. So it's like, 6 of this, half a dozen other. You gain the ability to do it out of standing, but then you lose the ability to do it out of stance. So presuming he can't do it out of stance, yeah, that means those traps are now off the table. So, okay, I think that about covers it. Questions, comments, concerns, feel free to hit me up in the comments, YouTube, Reddit, Twitch, Twitter. Other than that, yeah, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll check you guys out next time. Later on.